Hey there, this is Molly. Welcome back to my YouTube channel as we take a look at the Aquarius New Moon happening on February 11th, 2021. And that is at 2:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So of course, adjust for your location on the planet. Now, this is the most important new moon of the year. And I'm going to talk it out with you and show you why the energy of this new moon goes into 2023. But let's get started with the basics here. The sun and the moon are conjunct at 23 degrees of Aquarius. So this is where you look in your natal astrology chart to find where this conjunction happens, in which house, because that is where a new beginning is happening for you. It's taking place. It is something emerging in your consciousness, in your awareness around where you want to go, what the new dream is. Aquarius is the 11th sign in the zodiac, and it is where a lot of energy has accumulated. A lot of things have come together in Aquarius. We see lots of information, lots of details, lots of specifics. What are we going to do with it? How does it all work together? Think of a computer, which is very Aquarius. How a computer is very intricate, lots of programs, lots of information, lots of codes all working together. What you're doing is looking at where you want to go in your life now, what you are inspired to focus on, to create, what the vision is, where you feel that you're really drawn to move your life forward. So this is important to know because this is an energy that's coming through, opening up this section of your chart and bringing your attention to Aquarius. So obviously, we have a full lineup here. 6 planets in Aquarius, and they each have something to add to this new moon, and they're also asking you to move forward. In 2020, we had a lineup of planets in Capricorn. We were talking all about Capricorn all year long, and now the planets have moved on. So what we do is we move forward into the next energy, into the new potentials, into the next area of life, where the Capricorn energies showed us what was not working in our lives, what wasn't real, what wasn't true, what wasn't in alignment with who you really are. There was a lot of retraction, challenges, removal, things that were tested, and if they couldn't stand up on their own, they fell apart, they fell away. They were no longer in resonance with who you are. Now the energy in Aquarius is asking you to really know who you are at an individual level. And you could look at it in terms of your whole life. What has created your self-identity and who you are in your life at this point? And you, again, in Aquarius, you look at all the components, how they all form a whole. So there's energy here that's really asking us to understand who we are, what we're about, and what we're going to do with it in the world. Because Aquarius is about the world at large, the collective, the evolution of humanity. But it starts with you at an individual level of knowing yourself, knowing how you're different, and feeling strong in that. Feeling good about that, feeling that it's exactly what's needed on the planet at this time is who you are as an individual energy field. And that is, of course, what you offer then back out into the world. So I'm going to talk about this energy here in just a moment because it's very important. But what I also want to bring your attention to is that we still have the rumblings and the earthquakes of Uranus at 7 degrees of Taurus and Mars at 18 degrees of Taurus. Now you're going to see that this is squaring the sun and the moon, and that creates a lot of movement, excitement, energy, potentially frustration, anger. I want to get where I want to go. I want it to happen faster. I want it to happen now. But this is a frustrated Mars because he's squaring Sun, Moon, and Mercury. And these planets are dominant. You could also say that Mars is squaring Venus and Jupiter. This collective of energy is stronger This Mars wants to know what he's building, what's happening. Show me these ideas. Aquarius is an air sign, very cerebral, very mental, has a lot going on. This is a Mars that wants something physical, practical, tangible in the real world. It's an earth sign. So there could even be this tension of, you can see it in your third eye, in your vision of where you're going, what you want. And this Mars still needs some practical work to do. Take care of your body, take care of your daily needs, stick to what needs to get done. And that could be part of this push and pull, is that there's things that we have to still tend to and make sure that they're progressing, even though all of this is happening and requiring your attention. Make sure that you're very careful with your words as this Mars squares Mercury that's retrograde. There can be the miscommunications, the fights, the frustrations, some frustrated text messages going back and forth. Just be aware of that, because there's a part of you here that is not even in your body with all this Aquarius energy, but the Mars in Taurus is very much in the body. So know that there's different parts of your energies that might not feel like they're in sync, but they are operating and they're needing your attention equally. Now, the other thing that's important here, especially throughout most of February, is that we do have this Uranus approaching an exact square to Saturn. And that will be exact February 17th, but we feel the energy growing for most of February. This is the first impact of these two in their square. It's often the biggest. It's often the strongest energy as they first make contact and have a lot that they want to say. Both planets are direct here, so both are equally strong. I go through this energy in my 2021 Soul Growth Astrology program. We go through how these energies are showing up in your chart. So I'm not going to be too repetitive right now in this new moon video, because there's other things I want to talk about, but this is very important, and it's very important throughout the month of February. So know that there's a strong conversation happening here with the Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus, which is a stronger energy because of how Uranus is the outer planet. It's further out than Saturn. And it's also territory that Uranus has already been in. He's already covered 7 degrees of Taurus. He's already been over this point. And in fact, he's not going to return here. There's not going to be a return to 7 degrees of Taurus. But what we have is this Saturn coming in at 7 degrees and testing and removing whatever is no longer necessary or needed, because Saturn is about what is needed, what's practical, and what you can work with. So a very big conversation happening in the background. Now, I want to talk more about this energy of the 6 planets in Aquarius, because it's very important to see how this energy plays out in various cycles. Now, 23 degrees of Aquarius is going to remain important in your chart throughout 2021 and into 2022 and 2023. I'm going to show you why. So, first of all, this Mercury retrograde has already been here at 23 degrees of Aquarius, starting on, that was January 25th, was again at 23 degrees February 5th, and will complete this degree point on March 10th. That means Mercury has already been gathering information about what you want and where you're going. The thoughts have been percolating, the ideas, the conversations, the notions. Things are already happening. They're already in motion because the Mercury has already been thinking and really figuring out what it's going to look like, what it's going to be, how to perceive what you're moving into. So Mercury's already covered this turf. Venus will reach 23 degrees of Aquarius February 20th. And she brings in help and support. She brings in assistance and ways to make it better, make it easier, make it more beautiful. So this is the feminine energy, if you will, that gets added into the mix. So these are the personal planets. They move fast. They're not as significant. What's very significant, however, about this degree point and why I think that this Aquarius new moon is the most important of the year, Jupiter is going to pass over this point 3 times this year. Jupiter expands. It makes it bigger, makes it easier, opens doors, brings in opportunities. And Jupiter working with this energy in your chart 3 times means that there are going to be opportunities to keep growing, keep learning, keep expanding, keep evolving what this is for you. Whatever seeds you set, the intentions, the ideas, even the openings, if you don't know, stay open. Stay open to this understanding of what's possible in your future, because Jupiter's going to come in and keep opening up those potentials. So Jupiter reaches this 23 degrees point March 30th through April 4th. I'm going to put these dates below the video. So the end of March, beginning of April, Jupiter gets here and says, hey, let's go further with what you've been developing and what you want in this part of your chart. Jupiter then returns here September 17th through the 28th when Jupiter is retrograde. And then again in November, Jupiter will be direct again and passing over 23 degrees of Aquarius, November 8th through the 19th. So again, whatever you're starting in February, whatever you're starting in February, it's going to keep growing throughout this year into 2022 as Saturn then comes through. But throughout 2021, throughout this year, this is where you're going to have support. This is where things are going to flow and open. And this is really important to make the most of, because the universe is saying, look here, look at this part of your chart, look at where you're going, look at what you want, look at the future for yourself that maybe you didn't think was possible, or it seemed almost too big, too good to be true, kind of like, oh, it's a far-fetched dream, or oh, that can never happen. Now the universe is saying, actually it can, because all this Aquarius energy is taking you further. It's asking you to dream bigger, with Jupiter moving over the same point 3 times. Expansion right here, okay? Then, next year, 2022, Saturn comes through. Saturn is going to reach this 23 degrees of Aquarius point 3 times. Saturn is very different than Jupiter. Saturn says, does this work? Does this have legs? What's missing? Saturn refines. Saturn says, this doesn't work. Here's something else. Or Saturn makes decisions and says, okay, you tried it out. That was a good first go at it. Or I see what you were building here. I see what you want. Let's bring in some more support. Let's bring in more of what you need to make this stronger. So the Saturn energy comes in throughout 2022, April 13th through the 26th, 2022, July 16th through the 30th, 2022, and then completes hitting 23 degrees of Aquarius, January 6th through the 15th, 2023. Yes, January 2023. So the energy that you're initiating here, February 11th, 2021, goes into early January 2023. And that's what you're meant to be focused on, because throughout 2021, it's going to grow. You're going to learn. You're going to learn a lot about this part of your chart. You're going to understand more of who you are, what your gifts are, what you like, what brings you joy, what lifts you up, what inspires you, where you're meant to see yourself and understand who you are, how you're here to use your gifts, how you're here to be strong, clear, and proud of who you are in an individual soul level. So, again, 23 degrees of Aquarius, very important part in your chart, and you're looking for the house placement, because the house is the area of life or the environment of life where this energy is coming through to help you grow and to show you more of your own unique energy. So we're going to see growth in this area with those Jupiter energies reaching 23 degrees of Aquarius. And then 2022 into early 2023, Saturn comes through and asks you to look at what you've been developing, growing, learning, and it's going to show you what stays, what goes, what you can build. Okay, so there's multiple energies all interacting here. This is rare. This is important. It's very important when the universe says, look here, look here, look here, because it means there's something that you're supposed to really understand and make the most of when you see these cycles and you make these connections in your own life. Another thing is that this is called a stellium, when you have 3 or more planets in the same astrological sign. And this is also called a train of energy. And you can think of it as the sun and the moon are at the front of the train. And here is Saturn, the caboose that comes through and basically tidies up, cleans up, organizes, improves, gets rid of things, takes care of what needs to be taken care of. But that Saturn is always the reality check of what stays and what goes. So you have all these planets ahead of Saturn, opening up ideas, possibilities, opening up what you want, what calls to you, where you're going. Then Saturn comes through last and says, okay, now realistically, this is all that is needed, or this is what you should focus on. This is what you can handle. And it helps to ensure that your energy is still being streamlined, so to speak. Aquarius has a lot of ideas, a lot of directions, a lot of things coming through. It's very creative. It's a very fast-moving energy, and that's something else to be aware of. This is a fast-moving part of ourselves, part of our energy streams that wants us to move into these new areas of life and these new experiences. Whereas the Capricorn energies of 2020 were very slow and just felt like we were on the slowest moving train. Things literally weren't progressing. It was just very hard, maybe even to feel hope or to feel like there was any traction or any change coming. This year, this Aquarius stuff, it's quantum. It happens fast. It gets moving. There's things that are going to happen very quickly in your life in the Aquarius sections of your chart. So things that can happen quickly, they can advance. This is leapfrogging. This is quantum jumping. This is moving ahead in ways that the universal energy flows can support and open up. And we also need to stay open to multiple ways of being supported. Now, keep in mind that these energies in Aquarius are trining the North Node here, which is currently at 16 degrees of Gemini. So they're bringing ideas to really understand, think about, talk about, is this really what I want? Is this what really interests me? And there's a sense of making sure that your mind isn't overly stimulated, because there's so much happening here that it also can be it's like the nervous system can be really active in Aquarius. You can be almost like vibrating because there's just so much happening and so much going on. So you want to make sure to ground yourself. And that's where we get back to this Mars, who will ground us, who will calm us, especially in Taurus. There's a calming energy in Taurus that might be hard to tap into. And that could be part of the square, is that you want to ground yourself, settle, get to nature, take deep breaths, really be in your body, feel your body, make the most of this energy, because there's so much happening over here that it could be hard at times to really get to this place of feeling strong in your physical self. Okay, so again, most important new moon of 2021, and that's because of how the outer planets, Jupiter and Saturn, are interacting with this same degree point until early 2023. So be very clear about who you are, what you want, where you're going, what the future may hold. And if you don't know, which it's perfectly okay to not know, you're just staying open and you're staying open to your authenticity, to what you've always loved, to a passion, to a dream, to a hope, to a vision. Something inspiring is calling you forward. Listen to those messages. Listen to where you want to go next, because I think this is going to be a time where you can make it real. And I think that this is also going to give you new hope about your life and what is possible, even after all of the changes and turmoil of 2020. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope this video has been really helpful and given you some good things to think about and plan for. I will be back soon with our next full moon video, which happens in Virgo, the end of February. And if you want to join me in my February 2021 Soul Growth Monthly webinar, I go through all the transits of February, including Mercury retrograde, and more ways to understand what's happening in your natal astrology chart. So you can check out those details below as well. Otherwise, I will be back here every Monday and Wednesday for more of my podcast episodes, and I'll have more teaching videos for you here on YouTube. Be sure and check out my playlists. There's tons of videos on different astrology topics over there in my playlist section. So thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate your likes, your comments, your subscribes, and your shares. Much gratitude for all of that, and I'll see you back here soon.